real bad idea. But we've already hit the start button. Figured while I'm working and before anyone gets here, I'll actually explain what the stream's about, so it makes sense on the VOD. I'm working, and I figured to give myself a bit of extra incentive, I'm going to embarrass myself while I do it. I'm probably not responding to the chat. Also, I'm not wearing headphones. So this is going to be just a absolute shit show all around. Genuinely the worst thing that will ever be on Twitch or YouTube from me. Anyway. 1A, Real Estate Royale. And everyone's going to get to learn just how bad I am at, well, doing narration. Pull this up. It's way up. What I'm doing now is I am partway through this. And I am... Hello. Wow, first this time. Maybe the only one I'll get with such boring subject matter. Maybe the only chat message I'll get. But wow, you were ready this time. Did you say anything else? Actually, wait. This is why it was a bad idea. Let's work while giving myself distractions from work. That's genius. 4-1. The startup is capital. This is going to give away gags for the Yakuza 0 video and the game itself. So if you have interest in either, this is not the VOD for you. This is not the stream for you. 1A, Real Estate Royale. 1B. Alright, now I just finished the business section. So I'm just going through this, and I'm just going to... Oh, hang on, I made a mistake there. I've got a very dumb joke of giving every section starting at 0, because it's Yakuza 0, you see. I thought that was a cute gag, but I thought of it partway through the script, and I just went and changed all the 1s into 0s, and all the 2s into 1s. It was a very stupid joke, which only costs time, and no one's going to appreciate. I don't actually have to title it this way. When I export these all individually, and then work chapter by chapter, day by day, so that I can, you know, do a few sections and then basically say, if I work kind of in chunks, essentially, so I know when to clock off for a day and maybe can work on another project or just relax for a minute. Hey, Real Estate Royale. Did I just immediately mess up? No, I didn't. I gotta have more faith in myself. Or less, I don't know. I don't know where my ego is at, if it's good or bad. Considering it ends there, probably bad. B. Cabaret Clubs are. Very Flash Diner Dash. I'm sorry if I'm not responding to chat much, I've got my eyes on this. That's a damn thesis. I'm going to look at chat once in a while. I'm probably going to be looking at a lot less once I actually start recording. Right now, I'm just trying to go through and actually log these. If you're interested in the Yakuza 0 video and don't want any of it spoiled, then don't look. Like this, you know, watch this VOD afterwards, I guess. What I do right now is I'm going through and just marking these, so I clap to denote. 1B, Cabaret Clubs are. Very... And I've checked that already. Where's the next? Don't fight fair. They'll steal your customers and... I don't know if you guys are lucky, right? I don't... He just gets called Amon theme. Over each is... I talk about music in this section a bit. I digress into talking about Zenta and Saori Yoshida. I'm terrible with names. 2. Business integration. Okay. That's where that section ends. So that's section 4-2? No, section 4-1B. Because if... Oh, it's very amusing that I think. True. A lot of these gags will not make sense without visuals. Actually, I don't even know. Maybe. Figured it'd be amusing to get a look behind the curtains and just see how much I flub lines. I'm really bad at narration. You'd think I've been doing this for 9 years and I somehow just never really improve. Though I put a lot of it down to my chest and my throat, which get locked up very easily when I go into narration mode. I don't know. Let's make that 1A. It's very important to log your materials. Though apparently, I've talked to other YouTubers, I'm apparently the only one who's this bloody extra about setting regions for this stuff. 2. Business integration. Will lead... Okay, is that where I ended it? 3A. Disco dancing. Oh boy, you don't want to hear how bad I am at the disco dancing. Well, you will eventually. So I'm just locking these. 3A. Audio is my least favorite part of doing videos. 3A. Disco dancing. If I had more money, I would probably hire an audio engineer to cut the flubs and fix them. But it's also a chance to listen back and I notice mistakes I've made during this, so it's valuable. 3B. Japanese catfight club and gambling items. So this got its uses. Also, my throat gets very, very sore. It's a bit sore now, so I'm probably going to push through the next section for today, and that will bring me well over the halfway line of the length of this, which, considering this is 3 hours now, this is not... I've not cut flubs yet, so this will be shorter than it appears. Disco dancing. You should just get good, Snake. I think that ship has sailed. I think I'm never getting good at this rate. 3B. Japanese catfight club. I just have to work with the badness. Yeah, I didn't have a ton to say about Japanese catfight club. 3C. Weapon hunting at Dragon and Tiger. This is really the section where I just kind of go into a lot of the mini games and extra modes and stuff like that. There's a lot going on in Zero Space Jam. Yeah. I feel like my eyesight is getting worse. I have to lean in harder to fucking see things. 3C. Weapon hunting at Dragon and Tiger. Weapon hunting at Dragon and Tiger. So let's see. 3D. Pocket circuit. I apologize for the audio on this stream, but I'm not wearing headphones just for my own comfort. Try not to wear headphones too much. Which is a really great time to stream. When you're not isolating the noise from poor other people. I like real estate, which we'll get into in the video. I agree with you on Catfight Club, though. Not a lover of it. Not really for me. What the heck did I just do? I fucked it. I didn't fuck it. See, weapon hunting at Dragon and Tiger. My ideal would be seeing someone who's good at audition, seeing the stream, coming along and having a nightmare at how I navigate it. 3D pocket circuit. 3D pocket circuit. You'll see a lot of these big spikes in the audio. That is, well, you'll see it in a minute. But when I flub a line, which I often do. 4. The minutes. Business stories. Yeah, but I actually kind of like this passive, is the thing about it. I like this passive in the sense that, you know, it kind of encourages you to explore and look around Kamurocho and just... Because it's a story about saving Kamurocho from the 5 billionaires, so, you know, most of that is spent experiencing Kamurocho for what it is. So that's kind of what I like about it. I think it's, you know, it's passive and it's chill, and it's that in a good way. Here, Kiryu takes on the 5 billionaires and Majima the... Okay, I've definitely gone on from fucking Pocket Circuit here. Is this where I ended it? 4. The minutes. There we go. Yeah, okay, that's where I begin the story section of talking about the businesses. Because I get all the gameplay stuff sorted out. So what's the over-under? Okay, this is roughly... God, why am I so bad at this? I've got 21,000 words left of a 45,000 word script, and this is 3 hours. I'm sorry to hand that off like a maths problem. For the minutes. Business stories. But I've not cut flubs, so that's gonna have to, you know... That's gonna account for it. Okay, there's one more section in here. I still do like the... This is a thesis, because there's someone in the Patreon Discord just basically said this is longer than my dissertation. Which, their dissertation is probably better than my videos. But, you know, I have the luxury of rambling. The minutes. Business stories. That luxury is biting me in the ass now that my throat hurts, but, you know, that's... swings and roundabouts. This all brings me back to Pocket Circuit. Okay, yeah, I'm still talking about stories. Kiryu is dense enough that he could well go to Sotenbori and become the 6th star. The neutrons. I don't know if people could hear that. They probably could hear it twice. I have a lot of problems with lip smacking. I go and cut these out manually. He could well go to Sotenbori and become the 6th star. There it is. You got an airbrush tool, you get that. You can get them out of there. Ah, God. I wish I didn't have such horrible fucking lips. I go and cut those out. 5 legend styles. Okay, there we go. That's that. That's 4-4. The minutes. Business stories. I'm just gonna hit save. I should be saving all the time. I've lost a lot of work in the past to not constantly saving. I did see one comment on the Majima stabs a child vid, which was basically, I hope it's long, and I was like, I hope it's good. But if it's good and long, then I'm sure that will go somewhere. Legend styles and clocking off. Okay, so now that I've logged these, we can get on to the next section. I shouldn't be drinking wine while I do this. I've got a bottle of El Pugil, which is not wise, but does lubricate the throat a little and give me bad ideas. So I'm moving that over to my second monitor, moving the script over to my primary monitor, and get ready to hear my throat in pain. So, section 5, middle management. So you're going to hear me flicking my, clapping and flicking my fingers a lot. That's to denote section changes and mistakes to cut out later. So, yeah, I'm not going to be looking at chat for a hot minute. So, I might go back to a ton of messages or none. I don't know. Alright. Section 5, middle management. 0, Serena and Awano takes the stage. At Serena we find Jun, Nishiki, and Reina. I guess this gives me a chance to correct something I said 5 years ago. I said that Reina grew up at Sunshine with everyone else. Well, she didn't. I'm sure some of you have waited for me to bring that up for years, you absolute madmen of Shimano. And I'm sure some of you have waited for me to bring that up for years, you absolute madmen of Shimano. Turns out this is Nishiki's new haunt. The Tojo haven't found it yet, so it lets him have some peace and quiet while talking Reina's ear off. The bar gets a really humble introduction, and I'm a fan of that. Kiryu, you want to tell them you own the whole road? No? That's alright. Oda's taking a while, so Nishiki decides to kill some time with karaoke. We get a version of Judgment where he leads, and I like the immediate irony that follows. Oda stumbles in, beaten and bloody. The Tojo have found it. We're now in Awano's arc. He's a little more hands-off than Kuze, but he has his methods, hitting Kiryu with a mocking guilt trip before targeting Nishiki and Reina to raise the pressure. I feel particularly bad for Nishiki in this scene, trapped between his loyalty for... Oh, that's the first real big one. I feel When I fuck up, it begins a combo. I feel particularly bad for Nishiki in this scene, trapped between his I feel particularly bad for Nishiki in this scene, trapped between... There are certain words I just can't say that I have to force through. I feel particularly bad for Nishiki in this scene, trapped between his loyalty to Kiryu and an oath to Dojima. I feel particularly bad for Nishiki in this scene, trapped between his loyalty to Kiryu and oath to Dojima. He hates that his only option is to keep his head down, which Iwano helps with. As punishment for foiling their squatter situation, Kiryu is sent out back with the boys, while the boss man has a word up here. Kiryu is so fucking cool. Sorry, I've paused. My dog has just wandered. Hello, Marlo. Please don't bark. Okay. Alright, you go. I've got an audience. You can go away now, little girl. She's not... Alright, there she go. Out back, Okabe goes on some big speech about how stupid Kiryu is. Out back, Okabe goes on some big speech about how stupid Kiryu is and how badly he screwed up, and Oda sold him out instantly. And Kiryu just stands there thinking, does this guy think he's a character? Okay, turns out Iwano can back up his words, so he gives Kiryu a few more. Iwano's in a really fascinating situation. He can see right through Kiryu. Just from looking at him and leading him on a little bit, he can figure out that this is Just from looking at him and leading him on a bit, he can gather that this is a Kazuma plot and how far along he is. It really sells him as a villain in a believable way. But you also sense that he can't act on this as he wants, and has to settle for delivering Kiryu an ultimatum. Hand over Tachibana by morning, or it's open season. 1. Chapter 6. Kiryu's kinda bumbling beatdown. Chapter 6 is both the coolest and funniest chapter in the game. We're now fully in the Iwano arc, so let's see if I can extol his extortion. We're now fully in the Iwano arc, so let's see if I can extol his extortion. We're now fully in the Iwano arc, so let's see if I can extol his extortion. Turns out everyone upstairs already knows about Kiryu's choice, and this bit keeps making me feel worse for Nishiki. Turns out everyone upstairs already knows about Kiryu's choice, and this bit keeps Turns out everyone upstairs already knows about Kiryu's choice, and this bit keeps making... Turns out everyone upstairs already knows about Kiryu's choice, and this bit really keeps making me feel worse for Nishiki. Turns out everyone upstairs already knows about Kiryu's choice, and this bit really keeps making me feel worse for Nishiki. Him and Oda get into a shouting match, both arguing for the... Him and Oda get into a shouting match, both arguing for the lives of their friends. Nishiki is screaming, angry because they're part of the reason Kiryu is stuck in this situation. Meanwhile, Oda is calmer. He condescends towards Nishiki, knowing he's the one with more power in this situation. And then Oda, pretending to put a call into the boss to give him an update, rats Kiryu the fuck out. And even with all of this, Kiryu defends Oda, says panicking gets them nowhere and heads out on his own to investigate. Kiryu's stoicism is part of what hurts Nishikiyama right now. He wants to help but is repeatedly pushed away. His concern and anger on his friend's behalf is rejected. His world is collapsing around him, and try as he might to pretend things were normal, Iwano's visit destroyed that illusion. To Nishiki, Kiryu is already dead and he hardly seems to care, and is sticking up for the people digging his grave, making him feel all the more frustrated and helpless. Kiryu decides to stake out the empty lot for himself, finding finding nothing but a pool of blood and a show of trust. That was a bit too dramatic. Kiryu then decides to stake out the empty lot for himself, finding nothing but a pool of blood and a show of trust. Tachibana appears to inform Kiryu of something that Oda doesn't know yet. He's located the owner of the empty lot. Kiryu just has to stay alive until they can make their move. Kiryu returns home with the knowledge that all he has to do is stay. And Kiryu returns home with the knowledge that all he has to do is lay low. As morning comes and Kiryu hasn't turned Tachi in, Awano gets the go-ahead from Dojima and makes his position clear to Kuze and Kashiwagi. The men are sent out into the streets. Kashiwagi and Nishikiyama share a look, and Kiryu has to come... I fucked that up. I had an intention in line with that. I had an intention in mind with that line. The men are sent out onto the streets. Kashiwagi and Nishikiyama share a look, and Kiryu has come back to Kamurocho? What the fuck are you doing? So, Kiryu is the dumbest motherfucker on the planet. He says he should stick to places without many people, but I think it's several blocks too late for that. Okay, I'm being unfair. Obviously he has to do this because of the confines of the game, and the story has made it clear that one of Kiryu's flaws is his inability to sit still, but I've always found this moment just a little bit forced. This feeling isn't helped by the objective. It's another one of those blind hunt sections where you have no directions on where to go, just that we're looking for a lead and we should stick somewhere without people. It took me a while to... It took me ages to bumble into the progression... progression ambush. Just give my chest a second. I get really bad things in my chest when I do this. I don't know what it is. Okay. I didn't come here sooner because it was pretty clear the area had nothing to offer. This spot was our last objective, so it doesn't quite feel right to check here again. This moment is pretty clumsy, but honestly the rest of the chapter... Again. This chapter is pretty clumsy, but honestly the rest... This moment is pretty clumsy, but honestly the rest of the chapter makes up for it in sheer excitement. With Kiryu spotted, the Dojima are coming in force, and we have to fight our way across the city. Kiryu frantically... Kiryu frantically scrambling through civilians, trying desperately to find a way out of the Dojima's sights. It's a thrilling experience. I also just noticed I used the wrong version of sight there. Kiryu frantically scrambling through civilians, trying desperately to find a way out of the Dojima's sights. It's a thrilling sequence. This extended battle even has a unique gimmick. We're given timers before backup arrives, challenging the player to end things quickly and giving the whole sequence a feeling that the walls are closing in, even if really, that backup isn't much of a threat. It's just fun to beat the clock and the goons running on it. Kiryu escapes the ambush with the help of a lady from Asia. The club and the continent, and vows to return one day as a paying customer. Quite an earnest declaration to make towards a strip club, and one that goes very well. Why did I write with that level of irony for a moment? I'm not actually happy with that joke, but I'll leave it. 2. Kuze's cause and legend level-ups. And in those sewers, something amazing happens. It's the moment everyone came to love Kuze. I'll occasionally just re-watch his boss intro because it's that good. It's one of the game's most iconic scenes for good fucking reason. And god, Kiryu is so fucking cool and stupid. Kuze's speech is just raw determination. He's lost the race to the captaincy, but that's not why he's here. He's no longer pursuing Kiryu because of the larger conspiracy, but out of personal pride. And it's this aspect which... And it's this aspect which starts making Kuze uniquely respectable and keeps him a credible threat even if his grander ambitions have been quashed. He's the first villain whose front slips away, and this shot of him trailing his expensive Oh, that's gonna be a fucking bad sentence for me. He's the first villain whose front slips away, and this shot of him trailing his expensive shoes through shit water says it. He's the first villain whose front slips away, and this shot of him trailing his expensive shoes through shit water says it perfectly. He's in the Yakuza for the struggle. He's been dressed for success, but all that fancy shit isn't what he's made for. This is Kuze, and he's fucking awesome. The biggest insult wasn't that Kiryu beat him, it's that a quitter beat him. Kuze's anger builds along with his amazing boss track, Pledge of Demon. So much character in such an exciting scene. Kuze's tattoo, fittingly, is Enma, the judge and ruler of hell. So yeah, we fight him in an underworld. Okay, need a moment. I should probably do vocal exercises or something. Kuze's tattoo, fittingly, is Enma, the judge and ruler of hell. So yeah, we fight him in an underworld of sorts, and he keeps facing off and judging Kiryu. And in this moment, he moves from villain to rival. You fight Kuze 5 times in this game, and it's never not the sickest thing for one reason or another. That said, I kinda fucked up. Look at that damage. I ruined this for myself. How'd I do that? Well, with Legend style comes their own ability. How'd I do that? Well, with the Legend styles comes their own abilities grid. These don't have any new moves, just stat upgrades. The game doesn't want to mess with canon, but it will let me hit like a tank. I figured considering how this grid can be reset and refilled tens of times, my improvements would be a lot more gradual, but I messed this up. I figured considering how this grid can be reset and refilled tens of times, my improvements would be a lot more gradual, but I messed up. I'm really mixed on this level up system. I picked hard because I wanted the game to have bite. So for me to chip its teeth by accident, even if it was down to me underestimating things was a little disappointing. I'm not really a fan of having to manage and allocate stats in a Yakuza game. Actually, no, fuck that. I'm not a really big fan of having to manage and allocate individual stats in a Yakuza game. I mean, yeah, the regular grids have these as well, but they feel within the game's range of difficulty, and they actually lead to cool things. I like doing each Kuze battle with a different style. And with Brass Knuckles, I can make that 5 for 5, giving these battles their own little arc and matching his own evolving moveset and mood towards Kiryu. Plus, the Brass Knuckle and Legend battle let me undo a little bit of the damage I've done to the game's difficulty curve because they themselves kinda suck for damage. But for right now, But for the here and now, I just kinda paced Kuze. But for the here and now, I just kinda paced Kuze. Kiryu picks up his pipe, makes it clear he could end the man right now, but doesn't. And this just further pisses Kuze off. He demands that Kiryu end him right now. He doesn't want to lose again to someone who won't go all the way. Kiryu admits that Kuze may have him right, the same way Kazuma did. But he's got his own pride, his own way of doing things. And as he leaves, Kuze's face goes from anger to puzzlement, beginning his slow, begrudging respect for Kiryu's own way of doing things. So yeah, a really cool moment that I kind of ruined. It still So yeah, a really cool moment that I kind of ruined. It still overshadows what comes next. Have a sip of water. Three, Awano's weird boss fight. And up ahead we find... Hey, fun fact. It seems Debola was meant to be the spot where you played the disco minigame, according to old previews, but it got phased out. I kinda like that this part takes place in cut content. Though the scene itself is good, it genuinely is overshadowed by what came before. That's unintentional repetition. I'll try and fix that later. I'll re-record later. Though the scene itself is good, it genuinely is overshadowed by what came before. Awano tries to put the screws to Kiryu once again, psyching him out by appearing unfazed, going on a winding tale about the high life, and culminating with... Psyching him out by appearing unfazed, going on a winding tale about the high life, and culminating with... Always an orphanage to threaten. Ah, there's always an orphanage to threaten. He tries to make Kiryu an offer, twist his arm a little harder than Kuze could. And Kiryu twists it right back. So Awano shoots the woman he was dancing with, and then sets his sights on Kiryu. And we get this. I do find this speech interesting. It fits with my idea of an early version of Kiryu's worldview, less nuanced and more brash. It feels like something that will develop into how Kiryu sees the world. And it's in these scenes that he starts defining himself. And it's in these scenes that he starts defining himself. He heads upstairs, ready to face a firing line, and finds himself in Theatre Square, business as usual. He heads upstairs, ready to face a firing line, and instead finds himself in Theatre Square, business as usual. Meanwhile, Awano brushes off his defeat. That line shouldn't amuse me, but it does. I'm kinda mixed on this scene, because while I do appreciate Kiryu's speech... I've used mixed a lot. Yeah, I'll just have to go with it. I'm kind of mixed on this scene, because while I do appreciate Kiryu's speech, I don't really care for how he acts. I am mixed on this scene as well. I'm kind of mixed on this scene, because while I do appreciate how... my brain is fucking there. I'm kind of mixed on this scene, because while I do appreciate Kiryu's speech, I don't really care for how he acts, and him brushing over a woman getting shot feels really out of place. Plus, it doesn't do Awano too many favors. Like, I get that it shows Kiryu has beaten Awano by making him lose his cool, and I appreciate that in a narrative sense, Kiryu defeats Kuze and Awano on their terms, overcoming them in ways that hurt them the most. But, I don't know, do you really believe Kiryu wouldn't break this fucker's teeth over killing a woman for no reason? He just comes off too overly stone-faced and detached. He doesn't express anger over this. That aside, I do feel bad for Awano. Again, imagine getting so thoroughly overshadowed in your own arc by the guy you just took over from. Absolutely destroyed. Utterly destroyed. This section goes on. No, I've got a bit more. My hand is starting to get pins and needles because I'm doing that. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. Kiryu wanders out onto the streets and he's collected by Nishiki, who pulls him out of Tokyo and just drives into the night. Lost and unsure where to go, he just went until he hit the end of the road, and as the two light up, I can't believe that was foreshadowed. Nishikiyama pulls his piece. Nishikiyama pulls his piece. And this scene fucking kills me. I love this part. I watch this and I get why Kazuhiro Nakaya is now leading the series as Ichiban. The way that he can juggle really complex emotions, the mix of fear, anger, sorrow, and regret in his voice is painful. The confusion at how the situation got this bad, the anger at Kiryu for it getting this way, and the sorrow and helplessness that killing him is the only way he has left to help. The way it almost feels like he's pleading for Kiryu to understand that it has to go this way, and then Kiryu faces him, and he can't do it. He realizes he'll never be anything without Kiryu. Kiryu is on another level, almost inhumanly calm and determined, and that, along with everything else, just collapses in on Nishiki. While this is happening, Kiryu also realizes that dying isn't going to fix anything, saying that the two of them are still being stupid kids getting Kazuma in trouble. While Kiryu also realizes that dying isn't going to fix anything, saying the two of them are still being stupid kids getting Kazuma in trouble. Then Kiryu makes the same mistake again, pushing Nishiki away, while telling himself it's to protect him, severing their bond completely and abandoning him. Literally. Okay, why'd this scene have to end on a funny note? God, imagine the series had DLC chapters at this point. We'd have Nishiki shooting bears on the way back to Tokyo. 310 to Yume. Fuck that joke. That aside, this ends chapter 6, and it's great. It uses all of the momentum built from the excitement to run you into an emotional gut punch all the harder. It does such a great job with Nishikiyama. It has a really tricky balancing act of making his bond with Kiryu feel genuine, while not going so hard as to make his turn feel completely unbelievable. We now understand that while Nishiki is loyal, he's also incredibly emotionally vulnerable and dependent on his brother to have any sense of worth. We now understand that while Nishiki is loyal, he's also incredibly emotionally vulnerable and dependent on his brother to have any sense of self-worth. Kiryu's lack of worry only stresses him out more. It turns Kiryu's strength into a flaw because he doesn't know how to use it yet. His best friend is there crying before his eyes because the world doesn't make sense, and Kiryu's response is some grandiose speech that no human being could live up to. His childish lack of fear hurts those around him, both because it makes them... Why'd I say both? Because I didn't have an and. His childish lack of fear hurts those around him because it makes them feel helpless to help him. It makes clear this world can and will one day break Nishiki, especially without Kiryu there to pick up the pieces. 5. Majima's mentors. Majima's corresponding chapters parallel Kiryu's. The stories build on the same rough structure while chest again. Majima's corresponding chapters parallel Kiryu's. The stories build on the same rough structure while taking the ideas in new directions. This is the section of the story where the walls start closing in on our heroes while they start thinking for themselves. This is the section of the story where the walls start closing in on our heroes while they start thinking for themselves. This is the section of the story where the walls start closing in on our heroes while they start thinking for themselves. In a scene that manages to build a wonderful sense of dread and pay off a lot of heavy foreshadowing, Lee knocks Makoto out to spare her the details of his plan. He wants to sacrifice a fraudster with a similar build to Makoto, disguising the body and then corroborating Makimura's death. Majima, clearly uncomfortable with the plan, yells at him that the Yakuza would never fall for such a stunt. And then, it's revealed just how sick Lee really is. And then, it's revealed just how sick Lee really is. Lee reveals his past, a hitman for a Chinese criminal faction who wound up Lee reveals his past, a hitman for a Chinese criminal faction who wound up saving Makoto while running a job on the slave trade. Having lost his own daughter, he wound up taking in Makoto as a... Having lost his own daughter, he wound up taking Makoto in as a surrogate, his second chance at normalcy. I think this scene does a really good job balancing Lee, in a way that Awano kinda failed. His plan is sick, but I can at least see the rationale in it. I think this scene does a really good job balancing Lee, in a way I think this scene does a really good job balancing Lee in a way that Awano's kind of failed. His plan is sick, but I can at least see the rationale in it. Majima, meanwhile, is having none of it. Until now, Lee has had the upper hand, being able to use his inexperience and fear against him. Majima saved Makoto out of reflex, but in this moment, Majima decides for himself that he's not going to kill just anyone to save his skin. And this breaks Lee's hold. You see him get desperate, trying to convince Majima that he's already dirty. Then when this fails, it turns to blows. And when Lee is defeated, he tries one last time to reason with Majima that there's no other choice. In a park, Majima resigns himself to what comes next. All he can do now is sit and wait for the sword to fall. But someone comes along to give him a stay of execution. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. Nishitane? Fucking hell. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. I never realized how much trouble I have saying that name. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. This is gonna pain people. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. I'm just gonna have to go with this, man. This is what my accent does to that name. This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. He kills the girl in Majima's stead, then takes over the... This is how we come to meet Homare Nishitane. He kills the girl in Majima's stead, then takes over the Grand, giving a bit of a fright to the Lord of the Night. Oh god, that's where he got his face... Oh god, that's where he got the facial hair. Oh god, that's where he got the facial hair. Nishitani is the one leading all those other goons in Sotenbori trying to nab Makoto, and from what he's heard of Majima, he's a fan. Nishitani is the one leading all those other goons in Sotenbori trying to nab Makoto. Nishitani is the one leading all those other goons in Sotenbori trying to nab Makoto, and from what he's heard of Majima, he's a fan. He's also after Makoto on someone else's behalf, claiming they won't harm her. So this was one of those transactional murders. He seems to have a handle on things, down to knowing Sagawa is Majima's handler. He's a bit nutty, but Majima seems more annoyed by it than anything. But it's when Majima asks who he's working for that we get to see what birthed the Mad Dog. But it's when Majima asks who he's working for that we get to see what birthed the Mad... But it's when Majima asks who he's working for that we get to see what birthed the Mad Dog persona. Nishtani wants to fight, and when Majima says he can't do it in this hallowed hall, Nishtani creatively forces the situation, calling the cops on himself. Calling the cops on himself, pulling a knife, and getting more and more giddy at the prospect of a brawl. A cruel creativity that Majima will later emulate. He's also about as close as the game gets to a Majima fight, which makes it a fun time to break out Legend style, since aside from Nishpani... Fuck that one. He's also about as close as the game gets to a Majima fight, which makes it a fun time to break out Legend style, since aside from Nishtani's pants, this isn't a particularly hard fight. He's nowhere near as fast as the Mad Dog, and his moves feel a lot more genuinely insane. I always proc that. It's never not fun to watch. It's really clever how this fight does more to set Majima apart from his later persona. This is what a real madman fights like. This is... bollocks. This is... bollocks. Point is, I think it makes Majima's own style look a lot more like an affectation. Majima is clearly sharper and more skilled than this guy. The Mad Dog style is, in a sense, a mongrel. I can emphasize that better. Majima is clearly sharper and more skilled than this guy. The Mad Dog style is, in a sense, a mongrel. Nishtani is dragged away, and it's up in the break room that Majima once again comes face to face with Sagawa. He's got the news of Makoto's death, and despite being skeptical of a few details, and not understanding why a fellow Omi boss was having a scrap with Majima downstairs, it seems like Majima is able to talk his way out of this one. Oh god. Okay. Nishtani is dragged away, and it's up in the break room that Majima once again comes face to face with Sagawa. He got the news of Nishtani is dragged away, and it's up in the break room that Majima once again comes face to face with Sagawa. He's got the news of Okay. Nishtani is dragged away, and it's up in the break room that Majima once again comes face to face with Sagawa. He's got the news of Makoto's death, and despite being skeptical of a few details, and not quite understanding why a fellow Omi boss was having a scrap with Majima downstairs, well, it seems like Majima is able to talk his way out of this one. Sagawa leaves, promising to call Shimano and get us back in the clan. It seems like he's able to talk his way out of this one. It seems like Majima's able to talk his way out of this one. Sagawa leaves, promising to call Shimano and get us back in the clan. Unfortunately, the doc rats us out. Majima's jailers have us caught. Majima's jailers have us caught, so all that's left is to flee town. We fight our way to Lee's van, and he makes a grand exit. Sagawa... Yeah, that's a name I struggle with. Sagawa appears, giving us one last snide speech. But he's shopped. But he's stopped short by one more surprise character. He's your future boss. So, our two protagonists are in a bit of a downer. The middle of the story isn't quite as laser-focused as the beginning. So our two protagonists are in a bit of a downer. The middle of the story isn't quite as laser-focused as the beginning and end, but I think it does a really good job ratcheting up the tension while changing all of the character dynamics. There's an upset in basically every major relationship as our protagonists start breaking out of their cages. I like how these chapters mirror each other, both in terms of slowing up and speeding down. One person losing a friend while another meets an inspiration or two. One becomes freer while one loses what little freedom he had left. Six, Leave of Absence. Wow, that's the worst heading I've ever given a section. It's 3 puns and none of them are good. Wow, that's by far and away the worst heading I've ever given a section. That's 3 puns and none of them are good. I'm jumping the gun a bit, but I quickly want to go over Lee because I think he's the first victim of one of Zero's few writing mishaps. At the end of the game, Majima cites two people who have inspired him to change the way he lives. I'll get into the big reason why they did later, but one of them is Lee and the other is in jail. At the end of the game, Majima cites two people who have inspired him to change the way he lives. I'll get into the big reason why they did later on, but one of them is Lee and the other is in jail. Considering what they did to that woman, both of these feel fittingly shallow, but Lee gets... Considering what they did to the woman, both of these feel fittingly shallow, but Lee gets it worse. I don't fully buy Majima's later respect for the guy, seeing as they disagreed at nearly every turn and Majima's arc in relation to Lee was learning... Considering what they did to that woman, both of these feel fittingly shallow, but Lee gets it worse. I don't fully buy Majima's later respect for the guy, seeing as they disagreed at nearly every turn, and Majima's arc in relation to Lee was learning not to step into his shadow. Refusing to sully himself just because the situation was dire, learning that the out he promised wasn't one he was willing to take. So yes, I don't fully grasp the connection. I can buy that he inspired Majima, just not in the way the game frames it at the end. This is one of the handful of flaws Yakuza 0 has in its writing. It tries to redeem practically every character, and this gets very strange in places. Lee is only a minor case. I mean, he was going to kill a woman. Lee is only a minor case. I mean, he was going to kill a woman, that's bad, but he was protecting someone he cared for, that's good. That doesn't make it a neutral action. After all, he was going to use acid, but it still feels like they're rewriting what actually happened to give him meaning he didn't actually possess while he was there. And this is a nitpick and I may have missed something, but why does he look like Saejima? Because the game doesn't really do anything with that. It doesn't stir up an implicit false trust in Majima slowly worn away by Lee's actions. Where Majima steadily realizes, wait, this guy is nothing like my brother, and he doesn't deserve that respect. Nor does it create feelings of guilt or regret over Saejima's incarceration. It's not why Lee holds so much power over Majima early on. Not that the reason the game has is in any way bad. I'm just spitballing why he was designed like this. The intentionality doesn't feel like it ends with mere looks. Both Saejima and Lee are successful hitmen, who have gone through with an act Majima has yet to. It also offers a mirror to Kiryu and Nishiki, a bond of brotherhood and being tested. Not to mention, Lee's jacket is the one Saejima wears from this game onwards. Did Goro get that for him? Like, I met this cool guy back in the 80s. We were gonna beat a woman to death together. He wore this. Merry Christmas. And that's why I wonder if it was meant to mean more at some point and they just dropped it. Anyway, that's Lee. He doesn't mean what the game thinks it does. He doesn't mean what the game thinks he does, but he's still pretty interesting. This has gotten pretty dark, so let's lighten the mood a bit. Whew, and that's section 5. Okay, let's have a look at chat and, no. Let's have a look at chat and save. Oh god. Always have a mini heart attack when that happens. Look at all those fucking flubs. Oh boy, that's a lot to cut out. Thank you very much, lol who's who. I like Nishiki. I'm sorry, I haven't been looking at chat the whole time I've been reading that because I had to minimize OBS, so I'm just having a little catch up. Ooh, there's a bit. Why did Why did Wano shoot a hooker? I'll never know. He has a million more hookers he could be dancing with. Yeah, I think it's like the thing with that scene. There's a million thoughts I kind of have to cut, but I know it sounds weird looking at the length of this. That I try and cut for flow. And you know, there's like a million thoughts behind the words I wind up putting into the script. Those you can see there are some things I can clean up, and I do have to clean up while reading, just because I'm not the cleanest writer, and some things don't come out well in my voice. But yeah, the whole bit with Awano, I kind of read that scene as it feels very clumsy, but what the game wanted to get across was that Kiryu just defeated Kuze through strength, which is Kuze's department. Meanwhile, Awano is extortion, so he rigs the situation that way. And in that sense, Kiryu beats Awano in his own game. So it feels like he defeats Kuze and Awano, both, you know, totally unique to them, both in ways that hurt their pride in the greatest fashion. And I don't know. Well, I get into Shibusawa near the end. I like Shibusawa. He's definitely the least. I don't know. It's hard to say who between him and Awano I find less interesting. He is really kind of last moment, the kind of schema type character, but I think he's handled kind of well in you know, I think the game builds him up, and when you replay the game, there's a ton of foreshadowing, which is really just kind of cutting to Shibusawa in a lot of scenes, just looking at his brothers like, these fucking idiots don't have any idea what I've got planned, you know? Because he's got stuff, because he knows things like, he's 4 or 5 steps ahead of everyone else. And the thing is, I'll just spoil it because you're already here. Bu- 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 What was I gonna say? There's also the fact with Wano fighting Majima that his Iruzumi, his tattoo, is a demon hunter in Japanese folk. Shibusawa doesn't have nothing. Shibusawa has raw analytical power. You know, he's a pencil pusher. People don't appreciate the pencil pushers. Okay, I should go through this and give them chapter headings and get moving to the next bit. Move that over to this side. And Section 5, Middle Management. 0, Serena and Awano takes the stage. Yeah, I've got to apply a lot of post-processing to this. Section 5, Middle Management. 0, Serena and Awano takes the stage. You see the problem with me making a lot of mistakes? This makes it trickier to find where I actually end sections. 1. There we go. You do get better at reading waveforms as you go, though. Chapter 6. Kiryu's kinda bumbling beatdown. Self. Finding nothing sticks somewhere without people. This moment is pretty clumsy. Frantically scrambling, but I'll leave it. 2. Kuze's cause and legend level ups. I'll just yeah. So I know my chapter headings. Know how to separate things out a little. Kuze's cause and legend level ups. It's a bit of extra work, but it can save time later down the line. Kuze's cause and legend level up. 2. Kuze's cause and legend level ups. I listened to that 3 times because I don't trust my own memory. Okay. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. I think I've gone too far. Kuzei's cause. Oh, wait. My hand is starting to... 4. Nishikiyama's pen. Okay, yeah, I've gone too far. Where the heck? Mixed on this scene. Because... Meanwhile, Awano... psyching him out by appearing unfazed. It's good. It genuinely is overshadowed by what came before. It's in cut content. Overshadows what comes next. Have a sip of water. Ah, there it is. Okay. Awano's weird boss fight. Okay. Awano's weird boss fight. Yeah. 3. Awano's weird boss fight. Audio is terribly exciting work. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. I have a lot of respect to people who like actually do this as a full-time thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess they enjoy it. I hope they enjoy it. For me, it's you know, it's a necessity. I enjoy bits of doing the narration, just that I feel I'm not very good at it. And it takes me a lot to kind of get what I want out of lines. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. It never quite lives up to what I want to, but I've learned to kind of just settle for the fact that I don't know, I can't quite throw my voice the way I want to. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. 4. Nishikiyama's pain. So I try and get good enough. You know, timeliness. 5. Perfection is the enemy of done. 5. Majima's mentors. Especially in, like, emotionally heavy scenes where I always worry, like, people are gonna think this sounds stupid as shit coming from my fucking voice. Nishikiyama's... Was it Nishikiyama's pain? Yeah. Oop, there we go. And it works better when you have footage behind it. Feel a lot more confident when you see it set to stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. It's all right. 5. Majima's mentors. That was the last section of this, right? Yeah, no, it wasn't. Second to last. In a park. I'm just gonna have to go with this, man. This is... Down to knowing Sagawa is Majima's time to break out legend. Dragged away, and it's up in the break room that Majima wants. It's up in the break room. Fortunately, the doc rats us out. Majima's jailers have us caught. Okay, I'm pretty close to the end. One more surprise. Leave absence. When that chapter title just dawned on me, because I didn't plan that, I was just fucking thinking of puns, and then that fucking hit me once. That's so fucking dreadful that that's going there. That's getting fucking acknowledged as an aberration of my goddamn brain that happened. A lot of the writing this script was just like writing bits, hating it, waking up the next day, trying again, realizing realizing what I wrote before wasn't that bad, and then just, I don't know, the jokes kind of come a bit more naturally on a redraft when you're not so worried about just getting details about the game right. That's not to say I've got everything correct. I go through editing and I probably will insert more lines or like notice, oh, I got that wrong and try and fix it. The whole process is really just trying to worm out bits and pieces that I may not have hit on perfectly. May not have hit on as well as I could do. It's 5-6 leave of absence. Also, the joke is that he has abs. He's a massive man. There's leave of abs. Big people have abs. Fuck that. Okay, let's have a look at chat and... and that section felt pretty dark, so let's lighten the mood a bit. Okay. Just cut that. Not cut. Oh. There we go. And save again. I make backups of everything when all is done. That joke was so bad yet so fitting. Yeah, you never know. The pencil pushers, you know, they really get the crime done. You need a good pencil pusher for a crime operation. Oh boy. Should I try and do one more section? Try and finish this up tomorrow. Page 43 of 73, 45,000 words. 45,585. Let's see how many there is left to go. There's also some notes at the end, because I copy and paste things from my notes to kind of go in. And I haven't got the Kiwami section fully written up yet. I'm going to work on that as I go. 17,000. I could clock that off tomorrow. Let me see. Let me check how many I got done today. I do this a lot. This actually, it slows me down, but I'm like, oh, I'm curious. How well have I done today? This is very sad, to be honest. Where did I started today at section 2. I started here today. Page 15. Fuck. Okay, that's not bad. My throat is holding together surprisingly well. Fucking idiot. I'm in the themes section. Every time I do this as well, I always think, man, it'd be fucked up if I hit delete now. I've got this backed up though. 18,000 words, so I just need to do everything that I did today. Again. Oh, that's grand. That's fucking grand. Maybe if I knock out shameless sub-stories. Let me see how long that is. 1, 2, 3, 4... 4 pages. Yeah, my sub-stories section is 4 pages, which is relatively brief. I use LibreOffice. I used to use OpenOffice, but I changed it out for LibreOffice when I changed PCs. But it still uses ODT format, so not a grand change. Okay. Steal my throat for getting it all fucked up. Oh, I just got sent a video game recommendation. That'll be... There. I'm just waiting for my throat a little bit. Another sip of water. I haven't used Microsoft Office since I was in secondary school when I was doing I did double ICT for a year. That fucking sucked. That was a whole course prepared to get you to work in an office. Never wanted to work in a fucking office. That was a fucking nightmare to me. That idea. I wanted to be in film, and I tried it for a few years. I'm gonna try and get back into it at some point as a crew member, not obviously. Like, writing would be nice. I've tried my hand at it a few times, but that's neither here nor there. A game recommendation doesn't help right now. Google Docs ain't bad. A lot of people I know who do essays, they use Google Docs. And it works perfectly well because a lot of, especially for like sharing scripts for feedback, it's very, very good for that. I don't know, I just use OpenOffice because, habit, I guess. I don't really have a better reason than pure habit. Okay, I'm gonna try and do sub-stories. If my throat gets really rough... ow. If my throat gets really rough, I say as I tread on something sharp. What the hell was that? Oh. I'm gonna try this section, and if my throat's bad, I'm gonna call it. Because there's no sense running it. There's no sense wrecking it. So, yeah, let's swap this back. And pull this back over here. And yeah, let's do it. Section 6, Shameless Substories. 0, Substories and Comedy. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh, you've frozen. Good thing I noticed that. Oh, good thing I fucking saved too. Jesus. Why have you frozen? You don't do that. That's fucking rude. Are you gonna recover, or are you done? Audition has froze. I don't think I don't think it's coming back either. God. Okay. You are a worrying son of a bitch. I just created another backup of it. Because I'm gonna fucking close this son of a bitch hard. Oh no. Oh, you son of a gun. It's not the worst. At least I only started recording. That happened 20 minutes into recording. That would have been a bastard. Alright, away you go. Have a rest audition. Oh dear, wait. Okay. 60% on the fucking CPU, huh? 60% on the GPU, rather. That's interesting. Alright, let's open up Audition again. Give that one more crack. Previous session, yeah, give it a go. Give it a crack. Try recovering it. Alright, how well did you recover that? Oh no. Oh, you've frozen. Good thing I noticed that. Good recovery. Even recovered me acknowledging that the program had fucking given up the ghost. Alright. Okay, let's pull you back across to the left over here. On my other monitor. And let's try this one more time. Zero. Substories and comedy. I said during the last section that Kuze's Sewer Scramble was one of the... I said during the last section that Kuze's Sewer Scramble was one of the game's most iconic scenes. They knew it was cool, so they put it on the box art. Want to know another of Zero's most famous moments? This. Kiryu getting a chicken for pulling a turkey and deciding to name it Nugget, who goes and works for Kiryu's company. But the context doesn't matter. This moment moved units. In an interview, series localizer Scott... Blah. I'm gonna have trouble with this name now. In an interview, series localizer Scott Streicher put the series... In an interview, series localizer Scott Streicher put the success of Zero down to a few things. Besides being an entry point, he also called the game gifable. And it really is. It has great moments of sadness, hype, and insanity, all of which can travel in just a few frames. People see this, this, and this, and they gotta check it out. Ah, fuck it. People see this, this, and this, and wait, these are all from the same game? And then they have to check it out. There's a reason Yakuza and JoJo fans are really annoying. Because we're fans of series with such insane breadths of tone that we can force the subject at any time. If I were to sum up Zero's sub-stories, I'd call them proudly shameless. They are some of the stupidest, most overwrought, on-the-nose shit ever put to fiction. And I like them. They are the tonal equivalent of the movie Speed. If they were to slow down their ridiculousness... If they were to slow down their ridiculousness for even a moment, it would explode. It would not work. So it goes full throttle. Every potential joke is going as hard as it can. No gag is too stupid that it won't crash right through it. No sappy moment not deserving of the saddest ivories ever. There goes my chest again. So it goes full throttle. Every potential joke is going as hard as it can. No gag is too stupid that it won't crash right through it. No sappy moment not deserving of the saddest ivories ever tickled. I could acknowledge the speed metaphor fell apart, but if I did... And that's another thing. It will turn on a dime. If a line wants to be sad, it will be miserable. If a line wants to be funny, it may as well play a knee slap animation. And it might change what it's going for line by line with absolutely no gradient. It's going max speed in all directions. That's what makes it work so well, the sheer torrent of it, along with the boost in production quality brought on by the greater use of unique sub-story music. Though they are shrewd enough to know when silence is better. And I was laughing. I laughed through bouts of yelling at the game to fuck off. Almost ashamed that I couldn't live up to the game's lack of shame. That I could see the joke coming, and it knew I could see it coming, so it makes the gag even more ridiculous to plow through my defenses. Whether it was Kiryu teaching a dominatrix to be more domineering, whether it was Kiryu teaching a dominatrix how to be domineering, Majima helping a man fulfill an utterly banal dream with total earnestness, or stabbing Ryuji. I was amused every step of the way. The scenarios are either inherently ridiculous, or overplay such mundane situations as to make them so. To compare to humor in the non-sub-story, let's take Majima hiding from then scaring Makoto, and Sagawa punching a tied-up Majima with a recently wounded hand. These are amusing moments, but reined in and serving additional narrative utility. In the former case, the humour gives way to drama. It foreshadows Makoto's trauma. It's less funny on a revisit. In the latter, it reveals something of Sagawa's character, and is a nice shorthand for how angry he is, which serves to make him imposing. The characters in sub-stories are instead given only as much depth as they need to be maximally funny. Now, the side content is written by different people, but my point is that not all of... Now, the side content is written by different people, but my point is... Now, the side content is written by different people, but my point is that not all of Yakuza's humour is oddball insanity. And for all I'm calling this humour stupid, it's not stupid. The jokes are well crafted, making use of understatement for contrast, knowing when silence is funnier than sound, and getting all they can out of the very limited animation they have to add physical comedy and body language into the mix. Stupid in this case isn't an insult, because this is very clever stupid. It's a precarious style of comedy which is always at risk of becoming annoying, but I have a lot of respect for when it's done well, and Zero's absolutely is. 1. Substories, the past, and youth. This wild tone also feels very deliberate. Working in tandem with being a prequel and with the age of the protagonists. Now this does mean we get to see some familiar faces. Daigo is a young toff, sad that his dad can't pay attention to him and lashing out at the world. So Kiryu threatens to slap him and he learns not to be such a shit. We also meet a young Shinji. This sub-story is fairly earnest, but perhaps the one time I think it leans too hard on dramatic irony. Shinji is in a gang at odds with the Yakuza. Kiryu saves him and hopes that this young man will outlive him, which makes sense in the moment given his own troubles, but still feels a bit much, and it's not played in that same comedic way. But I'm talking about the past more generally. As the past grows as the past grows more distant, we tend to forget a lot of the menial day-to-day as the past grows more distant, we tend to forget a lot of the menial day-to-day troubles, only being left with the big events and memorable experiences which start to define the time for us. Now, I wasn't born in the 80s, nor Japan, if you can believe that, so I can only make the obvious picks. But obviously we have Majima bursting the bubble, Kiryu taking part in an MJ music video, and... But obviously we have Majima bursting the bubble, Kiryu Okay, throat. But obviously we have Majima bursting the bubble. But obviously we have Majima bursting the bubble, Kiryu taking part in an MJ music video, the recent invention of cell phones. Now, it's not just that a lot of sub-stories play on these cultural trends with the benefit of hindsight. That's weird, the emphasis on that. Now, I wasn't born in the 80s, nor in Japan, if you can believe that, so I can only make the obvious picks. But obviously we have Majima bursting the bubble, Kiryu taking part in an MJ music video, and the recent invention of cell phones. It plays to the age. Now, it uses the age for these sub-stories. Now, it's not just that these sub-stories play on cultural trends with the benefit of hindsight, it's that Kiryu and Majima are in their youth. The younger you are, the bigger certain events feel. Kiryu in his 40s is a lot older and wiser. His position in a lot of sub-stories is more senior, in control of the situation. His position in a lot of sub-stories is more senior, in control of the situation. Zero gets to flip the dynamic. Zero gets to flip the dynamic. Zero gets to flip the dynamic. Kiryu and Majima are in the process of figuring life out. These are formative moments. That shift in dynamic is partly what makes the comedy work so well, that you feel like these characters are getting swept along in the rapids, coming out of them a little wiser, a little more ready for the next insane twist life throws at them. While this is, again, played for a joke, with many sub-stories pulling a farcical life lesson out of the whole affair, the game plays with the fact that the leads are younger and inexperienced, and that gives the heightened tone a good reason to exist. Exist? That sounded... The game plays with the fact that... The game plays with the fact that The yeets. The game plays with the fact the leads are younger and inexperienced, and that gives the heightened tone a good reason to exist, because these are fresh experiences. Because these are fresh experiences. Going on from that, these are some of the raunchiest sub-stories in the series. Kiryu and Majima are a couple of horn dogs in this game, with plenty of sexual misunderstandings and jokes made at the expense of their naivete. Jokes that would be very strange when applied to middle-aged men. 2A. Substandard sub-story structure. I have a lot of fondness for a good number of these sub-stories, which is why it pains me to say that Zero has a really tedious structure for them. Let's start with the least annoying elements and work our way up. The sub-story count is deceptive. Not all of these are traditional sub-stories, and by that I mean go to a place, encounter an odd situation, and get involved. With a great many being meeting a trainer, meeting a potential friend, meeting shakedowns. Chest again. Okay. Yeah, I think after this section, I'm going to have to call it for the evening, just so I don't actually ruin my voice. The sub-story count is deceptive. Not all of these are traditional sub-stories, and by that I mean go to a place, encounter an odd situation, and get involved. With a great many being meeting a mentor, meeting a trainer, meeting a potential friend, meeting shakedowns, are actually a side activity boss, or a part of one of the businesses or pocket circuits. Or there's something a whole lot worse. These aren't all sub-stories, at least in the traditional sense, but they are labelled as such, and necessary for facing Amon. Now, there still are a lot of normal sub-stories, and those are the ones I've been praising. The business is integrated with the business is integrated with the rest of the world in a way that elevated playing them. With sub-stories, they're bogged down trying to do the same thing. Where other games would have a steady drip of sub-stories chapter to chapter, Yakuza 0 front-loads most of the normal sub-stories, with the more esoteric and less interesting ones filtering in as the businesses and activities open up over the course of the game, and a scant handful of later editions of what I'm after. This does make the city of Kamurocho feel like adventurous places early on. Sub-story markers have been removed without an item to highlight them, but they've been made easier to stumble into, either through standing out or a larger catchment area. But it also makes it possible to bleed them dry fairly quickly. But it also makes it possible to bleed them dry fairly quickly, leaving only the things you have to go out of your way for and making the city itself feel stagnant. Leaving only the things you have to go out of your way for and making the city itself feel stagnant. 2B, the friends we made are in the way. Then there's the returning friendship system from Yakuzas 2 and 4. I do like the system on the friendly face of it. It makes us feel like a man about town and is a long-form way of developing side characters. My opinion of the friendship system goes on a case-by-case basis. Since its function does feel distinct between characters. At its best, it's something like Pocket Circuit Fighter. It's more or less a progress bar alongside his activity, and it provides a unique payoff. I also like catching fish for the sushi chef. That's fun. That's what I'd call a good incentive. And this is extra after a completed sub-story, which was just the meeting itself. Also the case for Fighter. When it's inoffensive, it's more or less a tiny bit of incentive on top of a standard action. Like, hey, go out of your way to shop here to win Miho's trust. Though in my case, I just stood in front of her necking cans until she thought, yeah, this man ought to run the joint. I also don't mind either of the Club Sega girls, though I wish they'd get to the point a bit sooner. I feel like I was playing these games out of an obligation rather than because I wanted to know. Wait, hang on, I fucked that. I felt like I was playing these games out of an obligation rather than because I wanted to before it was over. I like the reward being another game, that's what I'm into, but just being made to play them over and over again, that wasn't really doing it for me. At its worst, it's an impediment. It feels like a sub-story holding out on me, like the Mushroom Man or the Gandhara Clerk, where I have to repeatedly bash through menus or beat off, and Majima arrives several times before the sub-story does. That said, I don't mind Walking Erection, who in this game full of liars is the most stand-up guy you could meet. Him and Majima form an oddly wholesome friendship based on the girls they're into. And, okay, I should probably talk about Gandhara, a replacement for the old Beam video, where you watch porn so soft it could break a 10-story fall. And okay, I should probably talk about Gandhara, a replacement for the old Beam video, where you watch porn so soft it could break a 10-story fall. You need to watch 15 unique videos to finish your friendship with Mr. Libido. How do you get videos? Well, they're a bonus reward for certain sub-stories. The girls you interact with. Well, they're a bonus reward for certain sub-stories. Those girls you interact with? Well, most of them are porn actresses modeled into the game. Now, I'm not this guy, so it doesn't actually bother me. I'm only blurring this because these panties would get YouTubes in a bunch. But it does feel a bit skeevy when the correct answer as to why you're into one of them is them being innocent and childlike, and then her tape warps to the shop. That one's a bit dodgy. Anyway, the friendship system isn't inherently bad, it has variance, but that creates no small no small smare. But that creates no small share of drudgery. It's at its best when the sub-story is planted in the meeting, then completing the friendship offers a unique reward, not when a sub-story is gated behind it. Not when it gates the sub-story behind it. Isn't grammar fun? Fucking hell. Oh boy. 2C, hostile activities. Where they're at their worst is when they are tied to activities. Though again, it's a gradient. I'll admit I didn't mind the kids at Pocket Circuit if only because of my like of the mode. And my favourite sub-story is actually tied to the businesses, but only barely. This is how Dolce got his start. The two take part in a radio competition where you have to submit a thrilling life story to win. It's simple genius. Every completed sub-story gets added to the list of possible answers. And if you get it right, you get Dolce's reaction. I love this. I hate that after 3 correct guesses it's over. I wanted to see all the dialogue. I wanted all of his reactions. This is that good integration where something we did comes back around in a fun way. But then we have the hostess sub-stories. All of the pain is in getting there. The 6 platinum hostesses each have a sub-story. To access their sub-story requires completing their training. Their training being the text boxing and 2 minigames, which is... alright. I didn't emphasize that right. Their training being the text boxing and 2 minigames, which is... alright. They have 7 training sessions each, and you can only do one... They have 7 training sessions each, and you can only do one between rounds of Diner Dash. That's 42 completed rounds. A good deal more than it takes to finish the story of said mode. That's 2 hours, not taking into account the timer pausing when you're making decisions, which is all the time. So yeah, it becomes a slog, something I begrudged having to do. Once I finish the story, I wish it would just let me beeline the training, since it's not like I'm advancing too fast anymore. Once I finish the story, I wish it would just let me beeline the training, since it's not like I'm advancing too fast anymore and getting an unfair advantage. I'm done. Confession time. I didn't actually face Amon. A confession. I didn't actually face Amon this time. This may sound conceited. I think I could beat him. This may sound conceited. I think I could have taken him. But that would require me beating the toughest boss in the series. Ogita. The fact that Disco has sub-stories is... okay, it's not inherently bad, but it's pretty bad for me when I'm pretty bad at it. I tried, but I can't do it. This only served to make me happier that Ogita is dead, yet sad that I wasn't the one to kill him. That one is a me problem. So let's dial in on the worst part of Yakuza 0. King shit of fuck mountain, the telephone club. This is a slot machine for sub-stories. Now, the presentation is amusing the first time around, Professor Kiryu trying to figure out how to flirt via a shooting game, but here's the thing. There are 9 girls you can get. 9 sub-stories in total. And they can repeat. You can waste several minutes getting the same girl over and over again, with only minor hints to let you know to hang it up. Despite being the telephone club, I could not give... okay. Bloody chest. Despite being the telephone club, I could not give you the number of times it would take to finish it out. It's awful, it's boring, it's such an asinine and terrible way to get sub-stories. This and Disco is why Amon got off the hook. Man, all that wanking for nothing. Man, all that wanking for nothing. All that wanking and not the king of shit. Fuck mountain. I apologize to everyone who's wearing headphones. 3. Sub-story conclusion. Yakuza 0's sub-stories are well loved, and deservedly so. But for me, this doesn't extend to all of them. I praise the game's interconnectedness for the surprise it entails. But with that comes the risk that a surprise isn't necessarily a pleasant one. Sometimes the systems don't intertwine. They get knotted up. And that's how I feel about the sub-stories put at the end of other systems here. Luckily, this is only an issue if you care about completion. If you don't want to face Amon, you don't have to take the bitter with the sweet. And even if I don't like it here, experimentation like this does still make me happy. It shows the series still has the spark and the willingness to try new things and not just settle into a rhythm. The actual playing of Yakuza has remained much the same, but it tries things out with defense segments, and the quizzes have been made less do or die, just deciding how good a reward you get, which lets you focus on... The actual playing of them has remained much the same. It tries things out with defense sections, and the quizzes have been made less do or die, just deciding how good a reward you get, which lets you focus on enjoying the bizarre experiences dotted around the world. And those experiences are charming when they don't try to be anything more involved. And those experiences are charming when they don't try to be anything more involved. Okay, I think that's that for today. My word. Ogita died to no fault of our own. He was being a dickhead. Okay, it's good to know I wasn't actually destroying anyone wearing headphones. Oh. I didn't think until then how those flicks and like claps would come along. Fucking hell. So yeah, that's what audio's like. I'm gonna leave that there for today. I'm just gonna save these, and now we're on 48 of 73. How many words does that leave us with? It's no good if I ruin my throat, because then it'll take even longer to get things done. 14,000. Yeah, I can knock that out. I could fucking do that tomorrow. I'm glad you find it interesting. I did kind of just want to share it. I figured it would be motivation to get more done today. Just, knowing like, hey, people are watching. Get good. Get doing. Okay, oh fuck, I should probably hit Control S, shouldn't I? There we go. Let's flip that around. Bosh. Pull that one to my main screen. And just give them their section headings. And that should be it. I do still have the audio editing hell to go through after all of this. Oh, that fucker was rough. I don't know how long it took, though. Like, the process has just gone from my mind. I can only assume it was rough, given how long it was. But yeah, like, I will say, I forget all of this when it's done. Like, I just kind of go into a haze doing this, and then it's over at some point, and I do the audio editing. I enjoy the editing of the video. It takes a while, but, you actually get to be creative, and I can... Okay, I'm, like, really bad at working when, like, just on isolation. The worst part about audio editing, I can't listen to music while I'm doing it, or, like, anything, really. Yeah, no, it just erases all traces of the process. It was 4 months. I was, like, the way I handled that video, I'm still kind of happy with, just in generally that, I split into parts, and then I worked on a section of it per day, and I rationed out my time so I could get parts of the video done while still... Sorry, my chest is still acting up on me. And my throat. so I could get like other projects done at the same time. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. Yeah, I don't think I'm meant to talk this way. I think it puts strain on my throat. I hope that won't catch up with me someday. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. That's good. I feel more worried because it's a problem with YouTube, not so much with the audience, but YouTube kind of forgets and deprioritizes you. Like, the kind of videos I make, I shouldn't gripe like I knew going into it, but the kind of videos I make are, unless you're really big and you have the kind of momentum to carry it, YouTube starts deprioritizing you. Like, it does not reward taking your time to get a video you're really proud of done. It's like, hey, get the thing done. Otherwise, it just stops directing people to you, and you fall behind in the rankings and such. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. I still try and do this, though I'm steadily realizing YouTube doesn't care for it. I try and write my videos in a way where people can come back and, like, there would be jokes that they missed and bits. That's why I, like, try and cram them so full of detail, because I want people to, like, be rewarded for rewatching them and hope that would make up for it. But it doesn't seem to actually care for that. That doesn't mean I'm going to drop it, because I also want to be proud of the fucking things I make, but, you know, it's like there's a fucking reality going against it. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. 6. 0. Sub-stories and comedy. That's also what Patreon kind of makes up for, though. Like, you know, that really does help. Let's see. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and... I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it, Pyrogen. Oh. Just stretching my legs. I also don't like sitting down for a long time. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. If you want to know what my writing process is like, besides the general write something, hate it, wake up the next day and think it's not that bad, it's I'll write like a sentence or two, then I'll get up and I'll just walk around the house thinking what I should write next. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. I'm very easily like, oh, stop and start. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. 2A. 1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. 6.1. Sub-stories, the past, and youth. Yeah, we got that fucking Oxford comma going on there. 2A. Substandard sub-story structure. 2A. Substandard sub-story structure. 2A. Substandard sub-story structure. Obviously, I go and I cut all those out later on. I don't know why my brain has always visualized that as like chomping the bit off of a cigar. I don't know why it's like got associated with that. 2B. The friends we made are in the way. 2A. Substandard sub-story structure. 2A. 6-2A. Substandard. Another problem, my eyes are starting to glaze over just looking at this. Oh boy. The friends we made are in the way. 2B. The friends we made are in the way. Where are you? Boy. 2C. Hostile activities. Another thing is, like, I have, like, thought about, I think I said it earlier on. There's a guy I know who does do audio mixing, for a few YouTubers, and I don't want to be the guy who says, hey, what's your rate for a video that's for something that's 6 hours long, and then get the rates and then just not say anything back to him, because that looks, I don't know, I think that would look like really shitty to just go, hey, what's your rates, and then back away. That's probably just a reasonable thing to ask, but, you know, I don't want to put anyone out there. The friends we made are in the way. But there is a benefit of listening back to this, which is I can do retakes, and if I, like, I'm not going to doubt that something I've probably said in here could be said better, or something I may have got slightly wrong when rewatching footage, I'll notice it. So, it's boring, but it is another opportunity to kind of catch mistakes. And I've probably said that already, but there's not a ton of fascinating stuff to say about doing audio. C. Hostile activities. Hostile activities. A teaspoon of olive oil before recording removes almost all mouth moisture. Oh, God. How do you mean, Pyrogen? Sorry, because I've forgotten a lot of what I said. I'm just trying to say words while I do things. 2C. Hostile activities. 2C. 2C. Hostile activities. Oh, I could hear the rumbling of my arm there. That's... Oh, the microphone arm. That's not good. That should be fine. It's removable. I apologize to everyone who's wearing headphones. Free. Sub-story conclusion. Okay, there's that. Oh, I see, yeah. No, yeah, that is definitely a fucking hole. Like, I could not... If I send this to someone else, like... they would be fair to charge me a premium, because, you know, most of them cut videos in the 15 to 20 minute range, and I imagine they charge a fair amount for those, given the nature of the work. This... No, yeah, they would be fair to charge me in the hundreds for this much fucking work. Like, just from having done all this myself all this time, I would charge hundreds for doing this. Hostile activities. My bad. I'm very forgetful. I did have a guy, like, who, I think he was, I'm not gonna say who, but they offered to do, like, video editing services for me, and I think they were, like, just starting out and desperate for work, because they offered a cutthroat rate, but I would never give up, like, I don't think I'm a great video editor, I think I'm fine, but I would never outsource it just for, that's like a level of control I don't think I'd be comfortable giving up. Free. Sub-story conclusion. There we go. Well, I said that kind of dramatically. Oh boy. Yeah, as the writing hopefully makes up for it. There we go. Sub-story conclusion. There we are. Alright. Save that. And I'm going to make a backup of it. And I think that's where I'll call it for the day to just spare my throat, because I'm starting to really fucking feel it. And, I'm going to try and finish this tomorrow. I will do it off stream, but, hopefully this has provided some insight. Oh god, look at those fucking flubs. All those spikes, that's what I've got to fucking go and cut. Make this, seem half decent. And this is, and I got my spectrograph down here so I can cut out lovely lip-smacking sounds. Just another fun part of being me. But I might have to try that olive oil trick. But yeah, if anyone ever wants to try making videos for themselves, Melancholy, I know you've done it in the past. You've had your go on this ride. Yeah, this is a step in the process. This is a hell of a step in the process. And there is some fun to be had in it. There is a satisfaction when I feel like, oh, I delivered that line okay. Something like that. But it's a sore throat because I'm clearly not built for this. But I forced myself through it anyway. Because I like the other bits. So, yeah. Have a good evening, everybody. And, I hope to have the video out soon, and I hope it's good when it's out. It'll be 3 parts. James has already been, like, working out the thumbnails for the 3 separate parts, not the full thing, because I'm still not sure what I want to do with that. But yeah. Have a good evening, everybody. And should be soon. And I say so yeah a lot. I'm never going to get good at that part.